Welcome to this explainer. You know, when we picture Dubai's hypermodern skyline, it's so easy to just see the towering glass, the gleaming steel, and, well, the Lamborghinis. We tend to view the whole city strictly through this lens of unbridled 21st century capitalism. But what if the underlying blueprint dictating where all those things actually go is rooted in centuries-old Islamic planning principles? That's exactly the puzzle we're going to piece together today by diving into our source material. Our guide for this journey is a totally fascinating applied case study bridging traditional theology with contemporary urban development. It's called Urbanization, Authenticity, and Modernity by Dr. Engineer Ahmed Mansour Al-Musallami. And what makes this text so incredibly valuable is that it doesn't just, deal in abstract religious theory. It maps those theories right onto the hard, concrete realities of modern city planning. It asks a pretty profound question. How do you build a rapidly expanding, globally competitive city without completely losing your foundational cultural and religious identity? So here is our roadmap for today. We're covering the theory of Islamic city planning, the core Sharia objectives, Dubai as an applied case study, the economic entity, the massive success of the free zone model, and finally, urban balance. Okay, Section 1, Theory to Practice, establishing the core framework. Let's just jump right in. We really have to start by establishing the primary rule that acts as a mental filter for viewing everything else. It's this foundational Islamic legal maxim: warding off harm takes precedence over bringing benefit. Think about what that actually means for a city planner on the ground. It means you don't just go and build a massive factory because it's going to generate a ton of money, bringing a benefit, right? If that factory is going to pollute a residential neighborhood. Actually, scratch that. It means if it causes harm to the neighborhood, it's a non-starter. This is a fundamentally protective, defensive posture in urban design. Warding off harm is literally step one. To put this into practice, the text maps overarching Sharia objectives, specifically preserving religion, life, and wealth, directly onto four main parts of the city: the urban, social, economic, and environmental sectors. By breaking the city down like this, the author systematically checks if Dubai's crazy growth is actually fulfilling those high-level goals. Now, for our focus today, and honestly because the data is just mind-blowing, we're going to zero in primarily on how the objective of preserving wealth applies to the economic and urban entities. Moving on to Section 2, the economic entity and Dubai's industrial ambition. To really encourage industry, Dubai's government didn't just build one mega hub. Instead, they established 25 distinct industrial zones, strategically scattered all across the urban landscape. Let's pause and connect this right back to our primary rule, warding off harm. If you centralize all your industry into one massive zone, what happens? Boom, overwhelming traffic congestion, highly concentrated pollution, and just massive strain on local infrastructure. By deliberately distributing these 25 zones, the city actively prevents the harm of bottlenecks while still bringing in the benefit of huge industrial capacity. And these zones are huge. They cover roughly 234.5 square kilometers, which impressively makes up 12% of the city's total landmass. Here's why this stat is an absolute game changer. Dubai is not just a hub for tourism, luxury real estate, and finance. Dedicating 12% of your entire urban footprint strictly to industry shows a massive physical commitment to economic stability. The planners are literally laying down a tangible foundation to ensure long-term security for the people living there. Next up is Section 3, the free zone model and preserving wealth. The crucial point here is understanding how specialized areas like the Jebel Ali Free Zone from 1985 and the Dubai Airport Free Zone from 96 fit into this whole framework. These aren't your typical industrial parks. The industrial breakdown of Jebel Ali from the 2005 data is super revealing. The biggest chunk? Tobacco and food at nearly 32%. Followed by heavy industry like metals and machinery at almost 18%. Then chemicals, plastics, textiles, you get the idea. Real, physical transformation of goods is happening here. They import raw materials, create actual products, and export them, building an incredibly resilient economic engine. Now, if we compare standard business requirements with these free zone perks, we see exactly how Dubai fulfills that Sharia objective of preserving wealth for investors. Outside of a free zone, setting up a business traditionally meant navigating corporate taxes and giving up a degree of ownership to a local partner. But inside these zones, the rules completely change. Zero taxes, 100% foreign ownership allowed. The city literally removes the friction. By doing this, the government is essentially guaranteeing that an investor's wealth is preserved and can grow completely unhindered. And the payoff is staggering. This highly attractive environment, coupled with low annual rents, accounts for an astounding 74.6% of the Emirates' total net revenue. I mean, wow, over 74%. It completely validates their strategy. By applying the principle of preserving wealth for the investor, the city simultaneously preserves and massively grows the wealth of the overall state. It is a perfect symbiotic relationship where traditional objectives translate into a wildly powerful modern economic reality. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Urban Balance and Avoiding Extravagance. Now, you might be wondering, with all this incredible economic success, how do they keep it grounded? Well, the overarching theological framework dictates that all this growth has to remain balanced. You can't just have endless, unchecked building without boundaries. The source emphasizes that, to align with traditional values, the city has to avoid architectural extravagance and maintain harmonious building heights, like in the Al-Bada area. In Al-Bada, planners deliberately cap the heights so the buildings are uniform. Why? Because a homogeneous streetscape stops the wealthy from visually dominating their neighbors. It fosters social cohesion and directly wards off the harm of social stratification and vanity. It's such a brilliant way of baking ethical philosophy straight into the zoning codes. Dubai really provides us with this fascinating model, proving that deep-rooted traditions and hyper-modern success absolutely do not have to be mutually exclusive. In fact, those ancient principles might just be the very engine driving the whole shebang. So I want to leave you with a thought. How can other rapidly growing cities out there balance extreme economic ambition with their own core philosophical values? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this gives you a totally fresh perspective the next time you look at a city skyline.